What's up, freaks and geeks, and welcome to this week's episode of This Just In. I'm back from vacation, very glad to be here with you.
And Ian did a great job last week filling in, and we covered a lot of topics last week because of Adirondack. We bought so many new games that we brought to that show, and we covered off a lot of stuff. See, you had it easy.
Yeah, I made him take the hard one. I'll come back when there's just some really cool comics in and have a nice, easy This Just In. But it sounded like you guys had a good time at Adirondack, so
it was a great show, a lot of fun,
nice.
Met a lot of great new people. Hopefully they're going to come and visit our shop and find out what we're all about here. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Definitely. So, as you guys know, this show is telling you all about the awesome new comics and sometimes games that are on the shelf in the Freakopolis Geekery this week. We, of course, get other comics for people that have pre-order lists. And if you want a pre-order list, you can grab a Previews magazine, as you see here on the screen from us, at any point during the month. Put in your pre-orders and get 10% off any pre-ordered books, games, gifts, anything really.
Yeah, and so that's what this show is all about, is the stuff that comes in from Previews orders. And we encourage you to check this stuff out. There are thousands of items available every month in this catalog, and we only bring a small portion of that stuff into our shop. Any shop only brings a small portion of that stuff into their shop. And so we make the best selects we can, but if you come in and give us some guidance on the things that you like and the things that you're looking for, you're pretty much guaranteed to see that stuff show up in the following months.
Very nice. So, let's get right into it. We've got a bunch of new comics this week, including...
We sure did.
Some new DC stuff. Very excited for a new arc in Batman, The Rules of Engagement, which I just think is a hilarious title for a new storyline, starting in Batman number 33, particularly because now Batman, after 32, is engaged to Selina Kyle, Catwoman.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think he's apparently he's going off on an adventure to try and sort of become a better person. And that's what this is, the beginning of an arc that is about Batman becoming a better guy.
Man, I don't know. He seems like a pretty good dude to me.
He is, but he got, vigilante issues.
Right.
He beats people up a lot, all that sort of thing.
Yeah,
so he probably has to come to grips with that, especially if he's going to be married and, be a proper husband.
A family man.
Yeah, with a lot of busted knuckles all the time.
Right.
All that.
So, yeah, new Batman in the store. I've been loving this run since Rebirth began. Always cool to see a new issue come out. We also have a new Superman book, also number 33.
Yeah, again, they stay nicely sort of neck and neck and parallel with each other. And this one, of course, Superman is once again helping Lex Luthor become a monarch of an alien world. And hey, you got to follow some DC in order to have a grip on why on earth Superman would help Lex Luthor become a monarch on an alien world. But in this case, he has perfectly good reasons.
Of course. Lex Luthor always has a good reason for what he's doing.
Right, and differently than Batman, Superman is a good guy.
Yeah,
he's always a good guy, so he definitely he believes in what he's doing.
He's that good small-town guy, Yeah. But their sons take the stage in Super Sons.
Interestingly, it's Batman's son and Superman's son sort of teaming up again on an alien world and sort of trying to protect the multiverse. I mean, these guys were just trying to learn how to be sort of fledgling superheroes and understand their powers and how they should work together and what their belief systems are and all that.
Yeah.
And now they're kind of having to deal with, saving the multiverse.
Right. The really cool thing about this book is it is able to show, how opposed like Batman and Superman are, without necessarily like changing the story of the real Batman and Superman. You look at their sons, and they're sort of vessels for their beliefs.
Exactly.
And it makes for a really exciting book and wisely told. We also have a new Harley Quinn. Seems like her book comes out every week, but it's bi-monthly or bi-weekly. And she's still running for mayor in New York City. This week's issue is titled Vote Harley.
Yeah, I think this is the third issue in that arc where she's trying to become mayor of New York City because of the highly corrupt current mayor of New York City. However, Harley, of course, given her background and her style and where she comes from, um, she starts now turning to sort of her darker friends for campaign contributions, help in her campaign, that sort of thing.
Right.
And I believe she took a major uh, contribution from the Penguin, and which makes sense from Harley Quinn, but is she any better than the current mayor, corrupt mayor?
Incumbent. Yeah.
Right. So that would be the big question.
Not surprised to see Harley Quinn getting a little help from her friends.
Right. Exactly.
Cool. So those are sort of the most of the basic DC titles this week.
Yeah, and that really does. I mean, Batman, Superman, Super Sons, Harley Quinn, sort of right down the middle of DC.
Pretty much. But DC's putting out some other cool stuff this week.
Off to the side.
Yeah.
Wildstorm. Wildstorm, of course, Warren Ellis's current run of Wildstorm tells the story of some sort of government and corporate sort of covert groups that have access to some alien technology. And now in this issue, we start to see them getting exposed to the fact that there are alien operatives sort of working here on Earth that they weren't even aware of, and they're sort of they're getting exposed to that and starting to understand where these guys came from. They get some of the history and all of that. So it's starting now. They know where the stuff that they've been using is coming from, and it's sort of exposing a deeper level of story.
Yeah, Wildstorm's really cool for its sort of near future political intrigue, it's sort of cyberpunky style that is involved there. So
yeah, a lot of sort of high level covert Men in Black kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, very cool. On the other side of the coin, just something totally wacky and crazy. The newest Dark Knight's Metal tie-in, Batman the Drowned, looking at another one of these evil Dark Knights that have come through the portal into DC's regular Earth, and this one looking at the sort of Aquaman analogy one.
Right, and it's sort of an evil Aqua woman.
Right.
And I've taken a look at this book, and it has some really killer kind of underwater art. Really, incredibly colorful, awesomely designed. And this particular character, Batman the Drowned, definitely trying to drown the world, essentially. And we do see Aquaman himself make an appearance in here with some of his sort of helpful sea creatures, and they're ready to do battle against this character.
Naturally, I mean that's Aquaman's realm, underwater. He's not going to let anybody take that from him. So.
Well, I'll tell you, it looks like a major challenge. So it will be interesting to see if he needs help himself in that situation.
They are strong characters now invading in that Dark Knight's Metal series that's going on.
Pretty scary, really.
Yeah.
I thought, in looking at it, very, very dark, very scary, and very, very coolly tied into that sort of dark metaverse situation that's going on across the board with all of these invading dark character types that are all sort of mixes of Justice League characters with Batman tied with sort of some Darth Vader or evil Emperor kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's just been wacky and super fun. I think one of the craziest, coolest books coming out these days is definitely Dark Knight's Metal. Cool, so that does it for DC Comics. But the other big, huge publisher that everybody loves and knows, Marvel Comics, continues its legacy run, sort of rebooting its whole universe, a soft reboot, I would say, with Legacy. And we get the first of a few different awesome titles for their Legacy series this week, including the Invincible Iron Man number 593, in which Riri Williams and Victor Von Doom, the two sort of current competing Iron Men / woman, go searching for Tony Stark, who has been missing since the last Invincible Iron Man, as well as sort of trying to figure out who is going to be the true Iron Man and the next, get that Avengers calling card and come out on top of this sort of battle of heroes.
Yeah, definitely. And I really, really like the cover of this Legacy title. I think the rendering of Iron Man is quite incredible. It just looks awesome. It's definitely, you know, it gives you a feel of something new is going on in that Iron Man universe. The stuff is changing, and I don't know whether you know exactly how this thing was rendered, whether it was a 3D Iron Man that was
Could
used
be,
or
yeah.
whatever. But the detail is incredible. He looks really cool.
It does look super cool. We also have a new start to X-Men Gold, or a new legacy issue for X-Men Gold with Mojo Worldwide #3, and that is X-Men Gold #14.
Yeah, there seems to be so much wrapped into this. I mean, not only is Mojo involved, but I believe Phoenix is involved. I think Magneto is involved, and probably you know in some cases they got their work cut out for them because Mojo's always been a challenging villain in the first place, and now he's got some sort of reality altering ability that's pulling his sort of Mojo world into the world of the X-Men. And so it will be interesting to see how this plays out. It's a neat new arc for the series.
Definitely, I've been pulling this since #1. Very excited to see it start its legacy run. Speaking of legacy runs and starts of, we have a brand new oversized book this week on the shelf that had a lot of hype around it, and that is, of course, the Mighty Thor #700.
Thor 700. It's about time, really,
Yeah.
right?
So yeah, this is taking a look at all the Thors throughout sort of the Marvel universe. Of course, you have Jane Foster, you have Odinson, you even get a look at Thorg, I believe they call him, the Frog Thor. But yeah, super oversized. It's like 50 pages or so, with a ton of awesome guest artists. A great jumping on point for Thor, for sure.
Yeah, the guest artist thing is really pretty amazing. The way this book lays out, it's got a wraparound cover, and you just get sort of a different, cool Thor art style every couple of pages going on. And you know, we've seen some of our favorites that we've never seen work for Marvel before, showing
Yeah.
up as artists in this book, which is really kind of neat.
Yeah, one of my favorite artists and creators right now, Andrew McLean, of course, of Headlopper sort of fame, gets a couple pages in
We
this
got
issue.
big props for Andrew McLean. Love the guy. You know, we've met him. He's super cool, down to earth, and great to talk to. And he does some art in here, and you can't miss his art. You flip to the page through the pages, and when you see one of his pages come up, you know that's who it was.
Yep.
But then you've also got Walt Simonson, who I mean, when it comes to Thor, Walter Simonson is probably the guy. I mean, that's who you really think of when you think of incredible Thor runs. Walter Simonson's art is that's the stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoyed this book. I'm glad I pulled it. I hadn't been reading Thor, but it felt like a really strong, good introduction to what's going on in that universe. So
Yeah, it's a great place to start, and of course, really nice that it worked out with a round number, right? I mean,
yeah.
number 700, Thor Legacy, big, double size issue, wraparound cover, guest artist galore, just perfect, really.
Definitely. So we also have Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man #5. Not yet gotten its legacy numbering, but that is coming soon. But in the meantime, continues to be a really fun, lighthearted look at Peter Parker as Spider-Man.
Lighthearted as long as you can consider the Vulture a lighthearted villain, because I know the Vulture, Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, has made friends with a new hero named the Mason, who, I don't know, superheroic bricklaying, perhaps.
He's more of an inventor. He tends to make things for superheroes, sort of gadgets and things of that nature.
Well, I know the Vulture has it out for him because he's friends with Spider-Man, which makes him Vulture's enemy.
Definitely.
And so the Vulture is going to, get to Spider-Man by trying to get to the Mason, and that's what's going on here. And I think the Vulture is incredibly dangerous. And in the recent Spider-Man Homecoming movie, we've seen the Vulture and sort of his force of will, his style, and that I think carries over into this comic.
For sure, yeah. Been a great read so far. Very excited to have it on the shelf once again this week. We have some more Marvel up next, including Cable 151, another nice sort of even-rounded number, but very excited to be seeing this on the shelf this week with its own lenticular cover.
Yeah, I mean, we're showing both cover versions here. This is actually the same book. It's Cable 150. It's sort of bringing Cable into the legacy, bringing him forward into sort of the legacy universe of Marvel. It's pretty exciting. Cable, of course, being a time traveler and sort of just an all-around cool guy in the Marvel universe.
Yep.
And of course, he's got his own villains to deal with, and many of those have time traveling capabilities or the ability to get repositioned in time somehow. And essentially, he needs to form a team that he can use to help fight against these villains. And he kind of creates a New Mutants. Now, that kind of is well represented in the second cover here on the right-hand side, which is a Cable 150 lenticular cover showing a variation of Cable 150 as well as the New Mutants, an older New Mutants cover, which is super cool. Really nice, a really nice, fun thing that we didn't quite know that Marvel was going to be doing until very recently. We managed to get several of these Cable issues, the lenticular cover, in. You can get them by asking for them when you buy a regular version of Cable 150.
That's right, available with purchase of regular Cable 150. It's a very Rob Liefeld looking style on that lenticular cover.
Yeah, for good reason. It is Rob Liefeld.
It is, yeah. That makes good sense then.
You can pick that out.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, Rob Liefeld had an incredible run and sort of defined Cable's look back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Definitely one of his babies for sure. So cool to see him doing a cover for it, definitely. What else is up next in comics this week?
We are going to talk about some Image titles. Image, the number 3 comic company, the third largest publisher, all creator owned. All of their comics are creator owned, which means that the writers and artists own these characters. They define their futures. They define if they want to kill them off, they have the rights to kill them off. They don't require permission from the publisher to do those sorts of things.
That's right, and they can essentially go as long as they want. If they want to write a 500 issue story, if they're with Image, then they can do that.
Right, and if they feel it should run shorter and it only has a limited lifespan, then they can do that as well. The first one that we're going to talk about is this new title called Mei Strauss. Mei Strauss is a pretty cool title. I read it today. I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it was, of course, on the cover, I believe, of August's previews.
Right.
A lot of hype around it, and I think for good reason. It's a brand new book with Steve Strauss, who has quite the pedigree in entertainment in general.
He does, in fact. I mean, this guy was the storyboard artist for all 3 Matrix movies, but then he's also done various other titles in comics. We Stand on Guard, Doc Frankenstein. He's been both writer and artist for Wolverine series arcs. He's been the artist on Amazing Spider-Man and Alan Moore's Youngblood.
Right, and then has also worked quite a bit with Brian K. Vaughan, who said this about Mei Strauss. Mei Strauss is a masterpiece with one of the best first issues I've ever read. Steve is somehow an even greater writer than he is an artist. Get ready for your new favorite comic. That's quite high praise coming from someone as lauded as Brian K. Vaughan.
Yeah, exactly. I think it really said a lot. I figured I wanted to represent that here. Because Brian K. Vaughan has won so many awards. He's a New York Times best-selling author himself. He works with Steve in the capacity of Steve as an artist on some of Brian's books. But in this case, Steve does the writing, the cover art, the interior art, everything really. It's sort of another one of those one-man shows. It's amazing. It is an adult book.
Yeah.
It's incredibly cool. It's just a really, really good read.
And so the gist is this young man on the cover here has become the new king of a sort of an alien world, as I understand.
Yeah, kind of an ethereal realm, as it were. He's a magician, essentially. His father was sort of the king magician in that realm. Was the entire royal family was killed off, and this guy essentially has been hanging out on Earth. He's been banished to Earth, But they came and get him and bring him back to that realm because now he's going to be the new king.
Very cool. Yeah, definitely an eye-catching cover. Very excited to have that first issue in this week, and we got some on the shelf, which is always really cool. We also got the second issue of another of what I think is one of Image's most promising new stories in issue number 2 of The Realm.
Yeah, I love the sort of dichotomy of art styles that goes on in here. We have both the Realm shows amazing sort of post-apocalyptic cities and regular vehicles and streets and all of those sorts of things, combined with kind of almost fantasy-looking characters geared up for adventuring.
So this is a post-apocalyptic story where fantasy creatures like elves and orcs and trolls and dragons invaded our Earth, and since then things have sort of not gone so hotly, and regular humans are just sort of struggling to survive, but of course they have things at play. This is, I can tell, going to be a very long-running, I think anyways, based on the story that they've begun telling, a long-running series with a lot of really in-depth characters and story arcs. It has me super excited. We also have something a little more focused, Kill or Be Killed, number 13, of course, by an award-winning creative team, Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, and Elizabeth Brettweiser. We're finally now sort of caught up with issue number 1. Everything up to this point had been a flashback. In issue 13, we catch up to that first issue, and things aren't going so hot for Dylan.
Yeah, the lead character Dylan, he's got some, he's always been in a situation. There's no question about that. He's got this sort of question of, is he being told to kill from an actual demon, or is he essentially insane?
Pretty much.
Right. But that sort of situation has brought him into, he's sort of killed mostly bad guys, right? I mean,
he tries to, yeah.
he tries to kill guys that sort of deserve getting killed, I guess. And of course, now he's got a situation with the Russian mafia. He's not well liked by them at this point, and so he's got this demon, the sanity issue, the mafia, and it's all coming to a head.
Yeah. They're masterful storytellers in this book. Very excited. It's been one of our favorite books since we launched, really. We also have a book coming to its close in Shirtless Bear Fighter number 5. A nice, hilarious, just ridiculous mini-series by a really fun creative team. And the title pretty much says it all. Shirtless Bear Fighter, it was true to its name. He punched a lot of bears.
He did punch a lot of bears. And then it turns out, I think that he has some affinity with some of the bears, and then the certain bears are evil. So he doesn't, now he's sort of grown up over the 5 issues, and now he doesn't punch all bears.
Right.
Some bears.
Just the bad ones.
Right. Some bears are kind of his friends now. And he punches the evil bears.
Yeah, pretty much. But it was a really wonderful story, super funny, and had solid character growth throughout it. A really strong entry for this brand new creative team. I believe a trade paperback will be out soon. For any of you looking to get the whole 5-issue run, let us know. We would love to pre-order that for you. Up next, some more Image with Curse Words, number 9. We've talked about this before on This Just In. It's been my staff pick of the week a couple times. We've met the guys that created this, Charles Soule and Ryan Brown. Just one of our favorite books on the shelf right now. And in number 9, Wizard, the wizard that has traveled to Earth and decided he quite liked it here, is looking to replenish his magic through any means he can to stave off assassins sent for him by his boss Syzygy, and on the cover we see the next assassin coming after Wizard, and that is of course Lady Violet, who has won the tournament and is heading to Earth to take down Wizard.
Right, and on the right-hand side we're seeing another one of those super cool Walking Dead variant covers. We've got these in very limited supply, but we love to show these to you so that you can see that the industry does some really cool things sometimes, this is a big tip of the hat to Robert Kirkman and Image Comics. made a series of Walking Dead variant covers for some of their best titles, and Curse Words gets its one at here at number 9.
That's right, yeah. So 25 years for Image, doing some really cool covers in honor of that. Congratulations to those guys. We love, a ton of your books, so keep up the good work. If you guys are ever looking for any Image book recommendations, I got you covered. Come see me at the Freakopolis Geekery.
Definitely.
In the meantime, some smaller publishers. They're, still selling a lot of books, still putting out some really cool stuff, but not quite on the level of Marvel, DC, or Image. Including, up first from Archie Comics, Riverdale, number 7. Now that the show is back on the CW with its second season, we continue to get some really cool stories out of the comics.
Yeah, I mean, and this is pretty cool. The Riverdale series this is not your great-grandfather's Archie.
No.
Which probably, I think Archie's 75 now.
Yeah, he's got to be
that.
up there. Geriatric, at least.
He's been around a while, so your great-grandfather may well have seen Archie Comics. This is following more the CW series. It definitely is the dark side of Riverdale. On the cover of this one, a really cool photo cover showing their version of Jughead Jones. Jughead Jones being sort of a kind of the detective narrator of the Riverdale world.
In Riverdale, yes.
In the CW, he's not the hamburger chowing Jughead that we saw in Archie Comics. He's a variant kind of guy, but still very cool. He's a lot of fun to watch on the screen. He's a lot of fun to see in these books. This particular book has a lot to do with Dilton Doily, who we saw this week in this past Riverdale episode that went by on the CW. Dilton basically acquired a handgun for Archie. So he's a different kind of Dilton than we might have seen as well on Archie Comics. So if you're not checking out Riverdale, you definitely should check this out. It is a really, really cool kind of dark universe version of the Archie world.
A cool twist on the classic, can't get much more American than Archie. And Riverdale takes that and just turns it up to 11.
It really does. And, this season in the CW show, we're seeing, there's murders. The last season there was like a murder that took place prior to the whole thing starting. Yeah. Now there's murders going on in Riverdale. Every place is foggy. The outside is foggy, but also like the inside of every building and every house is foggy.
Yeah.
Riverdale is weird.
I don't know where it takes place, but
it's near Sweetwater River. I know that.
Right.
And it's just across the now drained swamp from Gotham, because since Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn have met Betty and Veronica, we know that they can travel from Gotham to Riverdale.
We're closing in on it.
Yeah, we're narrowing it down. We're going to understand this pretty well pretty soon.
Right.
But there's a lot of hints and information exists in Riverdale number 7 with the Jughead Jones photo cover.
Nice.
So it's a good place to start to do your research.
Definitely. So, from Dark Horse this week, we have a new entry to Jeff Lemire's Black Hammer universe, which of course won the 2017 Eisner Award for Best New Series. This is a really cool spin-off of that. Sherlock Frankenstein and the Legion of Evil, number 1, takes a look at... So basically what's going on in Black Hammer is this young woman is searching for her missing superhero father, the Black Hammer. And in Sherlock Frankenstein, she turns to his former arch-nemeses and villains to find out maybe they've seen him somewhere recently. And it's a really cool look. I love the art in this. Dave Rubin is one of my favorite artists. He did Ether last year for Dark Horse. Amazing book. It carries and reads super well for Sherlock Frankenstein. Brings a ton of style. And the world that they're building inside of Black Hammer is just super fun. It's a standalone superhero universe, so you don't have to read a ton of tie-ins. It's just this really cool independent superheroes with the best names, like Sherlock Frankenstein is hilarious. The next issue takes a look at Cthulhu, who is like this plumber who got touched by the old gods and now is like, a harbinger of Cthulhu. So really cool stuff going on in this book. It's probably my pick of the week, honestly. I really enjoyed this first issue. And it sets the stage really well.
Yeah, I think, the sort of Dark Horse, Jeff Lemire combo end up with this really, really cool title. I'm excited to see how this plays out, where it goes. There's also, we don't have one in the shop right now, but I know there's a Mike Mignola variant cover of this title. We ordered some. They didn't come in this week. But if you want one, you can get in touch with us and let us know, and we'll do our best to bring it in for you. But we do have the regular cover. Cover A is here. It's ready to be picked up and read. And this is an issue 1. A great opportunity to jump in.
Jump right in. We also have another issue of Star Wars Adventures from IDW. This is a super fun sort of anthology that just takes a look at different stories going on in the Star Wars universe. This one has Finn on the cover chasing this strange alien creature through a spaceship, as well as Chewie down in the bottom left there. Super fun book, great for all ages. I read it, thought it was hilarious. We've had kids come in and get it and just fall in love. It's really well-rounded. They're telling really fun stories there.
Yeah, it's kind of a Saturday morning cartoon in a book, but the familiarity of all of these awesome Star Wars characters really makes it a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Very cool. So Indie Comics, not a ton of books, but some really solid ones for sure. We also have a new Mad magazine. One of our favorites.
Mad magazine, so irreverent. It's sort of the Saturday Night Live of comics publishing. They are unafraid to, kind of take anything and examine it in their own sort of unique light and put it under a light of parody and satire without excuses. They just boldly go there.
Yeah. This month they're looking at Stranger Things, which is, of course, coming. Stranger Things 2 is coming to Netflix on Halloween. Also, vaping, latex girlfriends, and, of course, Trump.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because, they tend to poke fun at all presidents, but this particular one seems to... He sets himself up for it. Let's put it that way.
We could say that.
And they don't shy away from going there.
No, not at all. Not at all. So of course another classic American piece of reading, sort of newsstand staple, continues on.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that it still exists. We wanted to make the point that it does. Stranger Things 2, by the way, is the official sponsor of the upcoming Halloween Fest, the Comic Halloween Fest.
Super cool to see them, reaching out to like local comic shops like us or like yours, and sponsoring, one of our 2 big national holidays on October 28th, Halloween Comic Fest 2017.
Yep, and we're really looking forward to it. We're going to have all the cool stuff that comes along with Halloween Comic Fest, which is books and in-store events and sales and
probably some candy.
Yeah, the greatest costume contest ever, which is essentially if you wear a costume into the shop at any point during the day, we take your photo, we put it into sort of a national or international costume contest. You can win stuff, and then we're also going to have sort of our own local version of that, where we'll award a prize to the best costume that came in during the day.
That's right. Very cool. So up next, we have some adorable Star Wars plushies. Of course, in honor of Star Wars Episode 8 coming out, this
so
holiday
soon,
season.
Right?
Yeah, we have Chewie and his pet Porg in the back there. Who I think will be making quite the appearance in Episode 8. Maybe that Porg is helping him to grieve over the loss of Han Solo. We'll find out.
Porg sort of looks like a penguin.
Yeah, like a penguin cat or something.
Yeah. He seems to be frowning in that If you look at,
Oh,
got a bit of a frown on his face. I think I'm not quite sure, but Chewie looks happy to be holding him. So can't be all bad.
no, no, not at all. We also got in some Gorilla AT-AT or AT-AT walkers, whichever you prefer. We also got those in this week.
Yeah, those are cool. I can't decide. They'd be a good toy for a little one, or potentially if you got a dog that doesn't always wreck things up right away. Then this would be an excellent. It's kind of a durable material they're made out of. They're really cool. You should come in and check them out.
For sure. That's not it for sort of figures and gifts this week. We also got in a new Marvel Select, Diamond Select action figure, the Spider-Man Homecoming edition. We love these action figures. They're like $24.99, a super awesome price point. And they come with, they're posable, they come with interchangeable parts, and like a really cool, in this case, Spider-Man has a rooftop set piece.
Yeah, I mean, we've had Marvel Select Spider-Man action figures here in the past. I believe we probably still have some of the other variety here in the shop now. But this one is the brand new one that is designed to look specifically like the character from the movie Spider-Man Homecoming. And as you said, they always come with all of these cool accessories. I mean, none of these Marvel Select action figures are just a figure in a box or whatever. They always have, like set pieces and extra components and all kinds of stuff that really makes you, lets you kind of set up your own scene and make it your own. They're very, very awesome.
Yeah, so it like sits right there on your shelf with its whole, little set going on, which makes them really cool. I know this one, like I said, has the rooftop. Punisher comes with a pinball machine and some goons. Wolverine comes with like a samurai suit. So that's one of the really cool parts about the Diamond Select action figure line.
And it kind of makes them somewhere in between your sort of posable action figure and a higher end sort of statue piece.
Yeah, definitely.
And of course, we have higher end statue pieces here that you can check out while you're here checking out the action figures. So a great opportunity to sort of look at all levels of that kind of thing.
That's right. And I believe that's the last piece of new this week for this week's episode of This Just In. As we said before, there's tons of stuff in the pull box. If you're interested in starting a pre-order list, swing by. We'll hook you up with the previews. All you got to do is fill out the form with all the stuff you want, and you'll get 10% off when they arrive. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this week's episode of This Just In. If you could, like, subscribe, share, comment, any of the above. Let us know what your pick of the week is. And until next time, thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot. See you next week.